Yeah, it's just down here. Just down the road from the studio here. See the Lamandra?
I can see it. Crazy how close we are to the Princess Highway, but as soon as you get halfway down the street, it kind of goes dead quiet.
It's cool, eh? Don't have to go far. So this is Tempe parklands around here, Cooks River, Wangal country. So there's beautiful Lamandra all here in this sort of swampy, marshy area. We're going to go down and check it out, see if we can find some nice leaves to cut.
Is this where you usually get it from?
Yeah, this is one of the spots that I come to. There's some beautiful big bushes and really healthy leaves because there's so much of it. I mean, it's quite shaded, so I find it's a good spot because you can take a bit without, you know, leaving a dent in it, I suppose. Yeah, my name's Lucy Simpson. I'm a Yuwaalaraay woman. I'm a freshwater woman and I'm based here in Sydney, and our family comes from northwestern New South Wales and up over the Queensland border. I'm a designer maker. I work in textiles, I work in glass, I work in ceramics, and I think it's often about finding the right medium to tell the story. And when I was approached to work on the Djamu Youth Justice project, I thought about what was important to me. I thought about my experiences as a maker and as a Yuwaalaraay woman, Aboriginal woman, and what I value and cherish the most. And so there's this large wooden water carrier down in Canberra at the National Museum, which my sister Gilda, who was working there at the time, discovered. So there was no specific information around this object other than the region in which it was collected. And she discovered some illustrations that were, you know, down to the point exactly what this vessel was, that connected it to Bangat Station, which is where my great-great-grandmother was born. I think the fact that I know that it's from such a specific place and that I can connect to it in such an intimate way, you know, they're personal everyday objects, the idea of carrying water, the idea of us as blackfellas carrying our country, carrying our rivers, carrying our waterways. There's lots of beautiful analogies and symbols in that. And today we would associate these containers with women. And I think more commonly there are certainly really strong connections between women and water, you know, life force and energy and sustenance. We're in between two massive droughts, and I think the preciousness of water, the preciousness of cultural practice, this idea of connecting as women and making our healing is something that is embedded in this project for me.
The Wirri project being developed with Yuwaalaraay artists Lucy Simpson, Priscilla Strasek, Tom Barker and Arnie Brenda McBride. There's so many different language groups in New South Wales that have their own cultural practices and customs and ways of making that the Wirri project in its processes and materiality is a way to connect young people from really diverse cultural backgrounds to, find a relationship between themselves, the object they're making and the materials they're using. For young people to be able to connect with that lineage and the continuum of these practices is what's going to carry them forward long into the future.
Before we cut, we ask permission to gently take the fibres, and we give our thanks to Gunima for her generosity in gifting this to us. So Mayuba to the Wangal Moran, Ngunima, Lusinga, Yuwaalaraay, Giri Gabringinda. And I think, you know, not being of this country, how important it is to just acknowledge the old people and the land here, but also the old people that I bring with me and those ways and the places that I honour, and in collecting with respect and intent, creating things that also acknowledge place and can be a vessel to show and share that respect and carry it as well.
I mean, that was like such a big conversation out in Lightning Ridge when we're collecting the Kurrajong, and that material being the kind of connector for you back to country, and I guess that's why we're here along the Cooks.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, it's about relationships, and if you think about the twine or the string or the rope, they're the things that tether us to place, but also they tether us, because you're saltwater, I'm freshwater, and I'm going to learn from you as well about these fibres and how you process them and understand them, so that I can care for that and share it with others as well. I'm Yuwaalaraay woman on my father's side, and on my mother's side I'm of Irish heritage, and we connect really strongly to freshwater country up around Lightning Ridge particularly. Our familial relationships with Tom and Scylla go back generations. Tom's family are makers, and through Scylla we have connections. Our grandparents were born on the same mission and beyond. We're Yuwaalaraay people, so we have those connections through the river and the waterways for a very long time. They're role models to me, they're my teachers, they're my mentors. I think nothing can exist in isolation. We can never do any one thing on our own. And so to really value those relationships and bring them forward into the project is something that I really wanted to do, because similarly, with country being the conduit to healing, so too is family and community. From a personal note, you know, my old dad died a year ago, and they've nurtured me through my healing. So this project for me, in many ways, because I've had busy hands and because we talk about the old fellas and because it's embedded with country and lingo, has kept me afloat. Because there's been times, you know, when you're grieving, you feel that you can't even see tomorrow. So it's like you could say it's a coincidence, but really it's not. So we invited Scylla, Tom and Auntie Brenda to be a part of the project and to share their knowledge and their understanding and their love of country with us, with me, with the girls, you know, through the project. So it's wonderful to be able to have these conversations, to learn these new things that are actually old things, to be able to craft something with the time and the care and the energy that it deserves. And I think almost at every stage of that process there is inspiration, there is joy, there is beauty, there is love, there is connection. Fibre, I think, plays a really fundamental role, because there's no fibre without water. So for me, fibres are really about country or about place or about location. So looking at what I would consider our inland Kurrajong as being from that red country, and then exploring Lamandra as being something we would associate more with saltwater country. And as Wes has shared with us, looking at stringy bark as the beautiful point of convergence between those two stories or those two places. Today, for us in the studio here and in around Wangal country, it's been a bit of a masterclass in fibre. So in collecting or gathering or harvesting and knowing the right time to be able to do that, to bringing them back to the studio and starting to process those fibres. Some have been pre-dried and some need to be soaked, and some have been, you know, sitting in water for a month, you know. Understanding all these things so that we can communicate that in a practical sense, but also in terms of valuing the material, because when you understand and value the material, then you understand and value and respect country.
Over 12 months ago, it was just 2 or 3 days up on the Central Coast, and we had access to the state forest there, and we removed enough bark for, I think, 3 or 4 canoes. But with the stringy bark canoe, you're removing a lot of the outer bark, and by peeling back those different layers of bark, we have kindling for fire, but the bark that's a little bit too coarse for the form of the canoe, we can start to use to make string. So you can pull it apart and soak it, and that string is used to bind the ends of the canoe, but there's kind of so much left over that we always keep it, so we have kindling and fibre for making.
So that's all part of one harvest.
Yeah. And a bit of healthy competition every now and then.
Oh yeah. Oh, is yours only that long? Mine's twice as long as that. Oh, look how Wes is doing his. So this is one of the branches from Scylla, from the ridge of Kurrajong, of our red country inland, and that's a piece of the bark there. So you can see, compared to yours, it's quite different, eh? In colour.
Yeah.
And in addition to the colour of the fibre, that being quite light or blonde, you know, we say this grows in red country, and it's interesting that when you look at the fibres, they're cousins, but they're different. Even this to me feels more hearty, whereas Wes is very, very fine and delicate and requires a very light, delicate touch.
But these fibres, like the branch, have just been soaking for just a little bit over a month now, and
Oh, look how fine that is.
you can see
Wow, it's like...
why it's called, what would you say, colloquial name is lace bark. Because once all the tannins and that pith comes off, there's that kind of lattice pattern that runs through the fibres.
Even the symbol of string making is a really powerful one, because it's a conduit to very direct relationships. So it's a direct relationship to place, it's a direct relationship to our old people. And I think, you know, so often we look at cultural practice, or people say artefacts and things like this as being something that was. And I think in the making of the twine, we talk about the things that continue to be. It kind of is the binding that holds everything together, because it tethers us to our old fellas, but it's also something that you hand on to the young fellas to keep twining, which is beautiful. So just looking at these pieces of lamandra that we harvested this morning. So these are fresh. They haven't been washed, but they say the best way to work with lamandra is to dry it first, so to take that moisture out of it, and then to rehydrate it. So there's some dried lamandra, and then some that I've had that's been dried and been rehydrating overnight. You can sort of get it as fine as you can. So just stripping some of that fibre back a little bit with the shell, just to get rid of that sort of pithy, husky bit that's gentle enough to work the fibre but not too sharp as to cut it. So then I just work it a little bit, just to remove that last little bit and to get it starting to be quite malleable. And then just find a centre point and twist in the middle. It's nice because it's quite meditative, which is, I think, what I love about making, because if I'm feeling overwhelmed, or if there are things that are heavy that I have to deal with, making helps me process, but also I find plays a big role in your healing and well-being through the motion, but also through connecting to the fibres and to country. And then those are objects and those vessels and the things that you create carry that, which I think is really beautiful. Even more so when they're functional objects, because you can use them. The old fellas would say, never have anything too precious or too valuable that you couldn't give to someone else. And I think that really embodies the generosity of our old people. And so looking really at ways to continue to honour those philosophies and those principles in every day, in every way. I feel really honoured. I sort of want everybody to know that I don't take this responsibility lightly. It's something that is of great value and importance to me, and almost you could say the whole reason I do what I do. Because even though we're talking about a project, we talk about something that is so much bigger than us. And the fact that we are engaging in it means it can only ever be that, which I think is wonderful.